What's up, guys? Welcome back. Alice Blue here. And we have another patch notes video, 2 in a row. I know, that's crazy, right? I am also going to be working on some videos for tutorials and tips and tricks and things like that. So let me know in the comments what you would like to see. Anyways, let's go get into the patch notes. Okay, so these are the notes for January 24th. What's new? This week brings a number of quality of life improvements, revamped active defenses, and the highly anticipated hair visuals upgrade. Bug fixes and improvements. Tech. If you are hit by an attack and do not have an offensive target, you will automatically target the perpetrator. I wonder if this works with, like if you're still targeting a dead mob and you get hit. Will you automatically target the one who hit you? Or not, because you technically have a target? I don't know. That would be cool if it works that way, though. That would be really nice. I'll have to test that later tonight. Sitting characters will now automatically stand if they are hit by an attack, and if they attempt to execute an ability or use a consumable that requires standing. That makes me happy. You don't know how annoying it is to have to stand up every time. I know it seems like a small thing, but you know what? It's little things sometimes, right? Environment and art. Fixed missing collider in an aquifer room. Added colliders to blocked doorways in Red Shore Ridge. UI. Window lock state is now saved through sessions. Hooray! Removing the close button for chat tabs. They can now be closed via a new context menu option by right-clicking on them and selecting Close Tab. That's good, because while some people would accidentally hit the X, I always struggled to click on it. I'd be clicking like 40 times, like, close the damn tab. Map window will now say the name of the zone at the top. That also makes me very happy. My screenshots will look nice now. My map screenshots. Added new portraits for toads and quillbacks. Yay! There's quite a few things that could use some new portraits. Added a new combat chat tab filter for warlord songs. For new players, this will be selected by default. For everyone else, this filter will be unselected by default. If you want to see warlord songs in your combat log, you will have to toggle it on. Thank goodness. I am so glad I don't have to look at those stupid warlord songs anymore. And I'm sure that many of you will be very happy about that as well. No more warlord spam. Experience bars will now color the current tick red to more clearly illustrate what your red bar is working towards. Allow exposure compensation slider in the graphics options to go down to -1 for those who are still having visibility issues at night. That is great. That is really great. Also, if you're really having trouble with the darkness, or the brightness for that matter, you might want to think about tweaking your display settings themselves. Not in-game, but like your actual display settings. Design. Wild wolf armor, fixed falds, and pauldron visuals. They now match the feral wolf color. Fixed incorrect tinting on rolling pin weapon icon. Fixed color of white consortium gloves. Yay! My gloves will be white now. Fixed missing stats on feral claws. Reduced damage on serrated bristle effect from the sawtooth quillbacks. Increased respawn rates for some overworld world locations, quote-unquote pole camps. Stamina regen values for Rami, elk, mandrake tea increased. Rates now match the deer tea. Good, that's good. Ability changes. Inner fire changed to 3-second tick, and health tick adjusted to meet previous totals. Guts. Increased cooldown from the shadows now expires after the next attack, but will disable auto attack on use. That's a nice one. That makes me happy. I don't even play a brigand, but I do play with brigands, so that will be nice. Rejuvenating Hymn, level 46 version updated to 5-second ticks to fall directly on the 30-second mark. Also reduce the value to match the current progression path. Aid. Starting stamina cost reduced from 20% to 15%. Flash powder. Execution time reduced to 1 second. Oh, that is another amazing one. Also the aid. I like that. That will be nice. That will mean that I can do a drive-by battle res even better, because sometimes I have to kind of kite around a little bit to get just a little bit more stamina to get to that 20% mark. So that will mean saving my groups from a total wipe is going to be a little bit easier. So that does make me quite happy. Also the flash powder. 1 second execution, that's whew, chef's kiss. Pursuit added a large threat component. Another great one. Roar added self-damage buff. Also amazing, thank you. It did feel like it was a bit, like just a bit lacking, like it didn't really do anything. I mean, the AoE taunt was great, but yeah, it felt like it should have had some damage or something to it. So I'm liking these changes. Frightful Visage. Increased range, number of targets, and reduced stamina cost. All Warlord group buffs are now dismissible if you so choose. Thank you. I can make sure I don't have it on when I'm trying to lull things in the dark. The amount of times that's gotten me unwanted aggro when I'm trying to control a pull. Brigand's Sharpened Edge is now a bet. So, Sharpened Edge does not exist anymore. The ability is now called a bet. Increases flanking for you and your defensive target instead of buffing your pen. Some people might see this as a nerf, but I think this is amazing. So now me and my group brigand who I normally play with, I can give him assist and he can give me pen. That's amazing. We're just gonna be tearing shit up. New stuff. Active Defense Revamp. This week we are enabling a new active defense system which brings a bit more nuance to avoid, parry, and block. Avoid remains relatively unchanged and provides a full mitigation of the incoming attack. A threat reduction component will likely come at a later date. Parry now provides a fixed damage mitigation. The attack suffers a disadvantage, and you have an opportunity to counterattack with a riposte. Block now mitigates incoming damage based on a dice roll from your equipped two-handed weapon or shield. Okay, I want to point out here that before this change, avoid, parry, and block all did this same exact thing. And it was only one thing: mitigated all incoming damage. So you had 3 stats that all did the same exact thing and mitigated all incoming damage. So for one, that's kind of boring, right? Like 3 stats that do the same exact thing? Meh. Like there's no, variety. Variety is the spice of life. And parry, so parry still mitigates damage, but it doesn't mitigate 100%. It gives the attacker a disadvantage, and it gives you more opportunity to use your riposte, which, if you play a tank, you end up having not very much parry, but you do have a lot of riposte. But you have to have parry in order to riposte. So having the chance to riposte more is good, because when you riposte, you deal damage. When you deal damage, you get threat. On the flip side of that coin, mobs play by the same rules that we do. So these changes also affect your incoming damage. So I don't know. Get out there and test it. See what you think. And I mean thoroughly test it. And when you give feedback on it, provide details. Don't just come in and say, "This sucks, I hate it." That's not helpful. Details. What were you fighting? What level was it? What level was it? What level are you? What type of mob was it? Did it have a lot of armor? Did it have no armor? Is it, how long did you fight it? Get screenshots of your combat log. Pay attention to what your group members are doing, like details. The more details in your feedback, the better, because that's what gets things done. Anyways, sorry for the tangent. Back to the patch notes. To accommodate these changes, shields and two-handed weapons now have block value, which represents the range of damage you can mitigate, percentage, upon a successful block. More data has been added to the combat text to denote these events, including defended, parried, and blocked, preceded by the amount mitigated. Finally, a number of itemization changes have been made. It's going to be interesting to dig into these changes, and I really hope you guys help me. Help me dig into these changes and really analyze them on a deeper level. I want to see what you guys come up with. So anyways, okay. A number of itemization changes have been made. Parry percent values increased for all items and skills. So parry across the board got a buff. Block percentage values increased for all items and skills. Block also across the board got a buff. Pole arm parry increased from 5% to 7%. Cool. So not only did parry get a buff, percentage buff across the board, but pole arms in particular got an extra little boost on their parry. So yeah, pole arms are gonna be the weapon to use if you're parrying. Crafted belts can no longer add mental damage resist, but instead will add block. Okay, sure. I'm gonna have to test a bunch of this shit out. These are a lot of changes here. A lot of things that I need to be factored in. shield base, block, and parry values are now as follows. Bucklers, 10% parry and 10% block. Kite shields, 0% parry and 15% block. Heater shields, 0% parry and 10% block. Now, remember, these are the base values of shields. Okay, base values, so they should at minimum have these stats. Many of them will likely have higher stats than this. This is the minimum, the base value. And heater shields having 10%, while kite shields have 15% block, I'm going to assume is because heater shields have the most armor class. So it's a little give and take. All shields and two-handers now have a set block value, which represents what percentage of damage is mitigated by a successful block. Buckler, 10 to 15%. Kite, 25 to 35%. Heater, 30 to 40%. Long swords, 5 to 15%. Great swords, 15 to 25%. Great axe, 0 to 10%. Quarterstaff, 15 to 25%. Maul, 0 to 10%. Polearm, 10 to 20%. The following items have had resist stats replaced with plus block. Black chitin belt, dark leather belt, brook hollow belt, belt of the fallen, patrolman's belt, black chitin ring, and fiery chitin ring. So these are like going to be the name drops or quest rewards belts that now have block on them instead of resistances. New hair visuals. As we teased last week, new hair visuals have arrived. There are no new styles yet. But we are able to resolve the transparency issues, which results in a much more solid look. This also allows players to select lighter hair colors without it looking extremely odd in certain lighting conditions. These new visuals impact eyebrows, eyelashes, top, side, and back, and facial hair. Remember that you can edit your character's appearance at any time from the selection screen by right-clicking on their nameplate and selecting Edit Appearance. Works in progress. To see a full list of what is currently in progress, head over to this thread. Like I said, we will do another one of these videos for the works in progress soon. I have a bunch of other stuff I'm working on right now, so. Threat changes 1 to 2 weeks. At its heart, Embers Adrift is a resource management game. You are continuously managing stamina, health, threat, and situational awareness. A recent feedback post has brought to our attention that higher-level defenders are having trouble keeping aggro in groups. Ideally, defenders would constantly be on a nice edge when it comes to threat. We want it to be something you have to continually work to maintain, so that your role remains interesting and challenging. As you can imagine, however, balancing threat from a design perspective is a game of spinning plates, and trying to keep everything in balance with one another. Changing one attribute too quickly could very easily throw things out of whack and make the experience too easy or too difficult. To that end, we have identified a number of issues and potential resolutions that we will be implementing in the coming weeks. One of these issues brought up in the aforementioned post is that one-handed weapons are not viable for threat generation when compared with two-handed weapons. Given that the relationship between damage and threat, defenders typically roll with two-handed weapons for higher damage output, which yields higher threat output. A number of solutions were proposed by the community, but we feel that the most straightforward one is to add a threat component to shields. Adding threat components to one-handed weapons just complicates things for others who can also potentially use those one-handed weapons. In theory, adding additional threat to shields should allow one-handed weapons to be a viable threat-generating solution, while also allowing them to take advantage of the additional defenses that shields offer. I think it is important to mention here that the business of threat management is not solely the responsibility of the defender. Strikers bear some of the responsibility as they are outfitted with tools to mitigate how much threat they generate, fading strike, attacking from a distance, roll minus threat from the sides and behind. The last change we plan on making this round is adding a dynamic threat component to both provoke and fading strike. This new component is analogous to the bonus a healer gets when their target is low on health. The basic gist is as follows. For defenders not currently at the top of the threat list, their provoke will receive a threat bonus. And for strikers currently on top of the threat list, their fading strike's threat reduction will receive a bonus. This should make provoke and fading strike much more tactical in their usage and give both defenders and strikers a bit more control over their spot on the aggro list. More details on how this all works will be shared in future patch notes. There's likely a lot more we can do beyond the additional changes we have planned, but as I mentioned above, we need to make changes slowly to ensure things do not get out of balance. Once our new QA environment becomes available, we will likely throw more changes in there for testing and feedback. Patch size, ongoing. I promise I'm still working on this. Anyways, sorry about all the tangents. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment, and see you in game.